Here's one for baby boomers. Donna Douglas, best known for her role as tomboy daughter Ellie Mae Clampett on the sitcom The Beverly Hillbillies, has died. Her family says she passed away New Year's Day. The show, The Beverly Hillbillies, was #1 in its first 2 years of its 9-year run. In 1972, Donna Douglas did something almost no actress dared to do. She sued CBS for millions. She believed they owed her money from reruns of The Beverly Hillbillies. She settled for $500,000, but the cost was brutal. Hollywood quietly pushed her out. Producers stopped calling. Her name disappeared from casting lists. Years later, she sued Disney, Whoopi Goldberg, and Bette Midler for $200 million. Then she went after Mattel over a Barbie doll. But before all the courtrooms and betrayals, something happened on set that her co-stars never forgot. This is the story they didn't want to tell. Doris Ione Smith was born on September 26, 1932, in a tiny place called Pride in Louisiana. Her parents, Emmett and Elma, didn't have much. Her dad worked for Standard Oil, but money was always tight. They lived in a narrow shotgun house that didn't even have plumbing until Doris turned 10. Her mom had once worked as a telephone operator but was now focused on raising the kids in that small, quiet corner of East Baton Rouge. Life was simple, and money was thin, but all of it shaped Doris into someone real. Someone who understood what it meant to live without and never forgot it. She wasn't the type of girl you'd find indoors playing with dolls. Instead, she climbed trees, got her clothes muddy, and ran around with the boys. She had a soft spot for animals or critters, as she called them. She'd bring home every stray she could find, caring for them like they were her own children. Later in life, when she played a character who loved animals, it wasn't acting. It was just who she was. One time during an audition, they handed her a goat and told her to milk it. She didn't flinch. Her hands knew what to do, because she'd done it before. Back on the farm, in high school at St. Gerard Catholic in Baton Rouge, Doris stood out not because she tried to, but because she couldn't help it. She played basketball and softball, which wasn't something most girls did in the late 1940s. Her school was brand new, and she was one of the first students to ever graduate from there in 1950. There were only 10 kids in the whole graduating class. She was athletic, confident, and natural traits that later helped her look effortless on camera. Even when she wasn't trying, church was a big part of life for Doris. Her family never missed a Sunday. Faith was taught, practiced, and expected. She would say later that she loved Jesus but didn't truly understand the Bible until much later. Even when she moved to New York, chasing her dreams, she made a promise to God that she wouldn't lose herself. That promise followed her through fame, through struggles, and eventually brought her back to ministry school in Oklahoma. She graduated in 1984, trained in children's ministry, and began traveling as a gospel singer, telling people about her journey and her faith. Money was always tight. Even though the Great Depression had ended before she was born, its effects didn't go away overnight. Her father's job didn't always bring in enough to feel safe. At 12 years old, Doris learned to sew her own clothes out of feed sacks, the same kind used for storing animal grain. It wasn't about fashion. It was about making do with what you had. That lesson stuck with her. Even years later, when Hollywood tried to polish her up, she never forgot how to make something beautiful out of nothing. At 17, she married her high school sweetheart, Roland Bourgeois Jr. They tied the knot at St. Gerard's Church, but it wasn't a fairy tale. They were just kids. Doris said herself that she was 17 going on 12. They moved in with her parents because they couldn't afford a place of their own. It didn't take long for cracks to show. She thought they had love, but all they really had in common was playing sports. Then came Danny, her only child, born in 1954. Roland got drafted and was sent to Germany. By the time he came back, too much had changed. The marriage, already rocky, couldn't survive. They tried, but it didn't work. Life as a young single mom in the early 1950s wasn't easy. She worked wherever she could, waitressing, clerking, anything to pay for baby formula and diapers. Roland's military checks were small and didn't stretch far. She was tired all the time, always juggling jobs and motherhood, always just barely making it. People whispered. In a place like Baton Rouge, being a young separated mother wasn't something people looked at kindly. The church, the neighbors, even some relatives saw her as a failure. But she wasn't. In 1954, at just 22, Doris made a decision most women didn't dare make back then. She filed for divorce. In Catholic Louisiana, that was almost unthinkable. People judged her harshly, but she did it anyway. She took her son and moved away for a while, just to escape the gossip. Parade magazine later called her one of the girls of spunk and courage because she chose freedom over fear. There was no clear plan, no financial safety net, just a belief that staying miserable wasn't an option. With barely any money, no idea what came next, Doris started entering small-town talent contests. She'd sing gospel songs ones she learned in church, hoping for a few extra dollars to help with groceries. She didn't expect anything more, but each time she sang, something changed. People noticed her stage presence, her voice, her glow. They weren't polished, but they were real. These local contests planted a seed in her mind. Maybe this could go somewhere. Maybe there was more waiting beyond Louisiana. Then came 1957. She entered the Miss Baton Rouge pageant, now going by the name Donna Douglas. She stood 5 feet 4 inches with measurements of 3'7" 2'5" 3'6", and her beauty was undeniable. But what really set her apart wasn't how she looked. It was how she carried herself. She was sweet, down-to-earth, and completely untrained in pageantry. Yet she won, and not long after, she shocked everyone again by winning Miss New Orleans. That win brought in a $1,000 prize, about 3 months' wages back then. For a single mom scraping by, it was life-changing. In 1958, she took that money and left for New York. She brought her 6-year-old son as far as she could, then left him with her parents because she couldn't afford both their lives in the city. It broke her heart, but she was chasing a future. She arrived in Manhattan with little more than a suitcase and hope. She didn't know anyone. She'd never been on a plane before. She hitchhiked some of the way. Everything about it was scary, but turning back wasn't an option. New York was cold and fast, and nothing like Louisiana. She got a job as a secretary, making about $50 a week, barely enough to survive. She lived in a cramped walk-up, skipped meals to save money, and sent whatever she could back home for Danny. She heard horror stories about what happened to girls who came to the city with dreams. She stayed away from the wrong parties, avoided the casting couch rumors, and focused on taking acting classes to get better. She even studied under Lee Strasberg. At first, she worked with a modeling agency. They saw she had that look, that glow, but they pushed her too far. They booked her in tight clothes and sultry poses that didn't feel right. Some photographers crossed the line. They asked her to do more than she signed up for. She refused every time. She knew where she came from, and she wasn't going to lose her values for a paycheck. That choice meant turning down jobs, but it also protected her. Her break came when she landed a spot on the Perry Como show as the letters girl. That job changed everything. It was an overnight success, but it was real, steady, and hers. 2 years later, she was upgraded to Billboard Girl on the Steve Allen Show, standing beside cards in glitzy outfits with that same warm Southern smile. She didn't have to speak, she just had to be seen. It was the 1950s, and beauty alone was a ticket in. Photographers started calling. Newspaper reporters lined up. She was crowned Miss Byline, and one of those appearances even got her a spot on The Ed Sullivan Show. That's where everything changed. Hollywood producer Hal Vallis happened to be watching. He saw something in Donna, something more than curves and a smile. He invited her to Los Angeles for a screen test. Around the same time, she started picking up more modeling gigs on the side, pinup style shoots, swimsuit layouts, calendar spreads. Her 3'7" 2'3" 3'6" frame and 5 feet 7 inches height caught attention quickly. But Donna wasn't trying to be a fashion model. She liked keeping her strong, athletic shape from her childhood on the farm. "I didn't want to be that skinny," she later said. She kept picking up odd roles, bit parts in shows like Route 66, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and even The Twilight Zone. In one famous episode from 1960 called Eye of the Beholder, she played a woman hidden behind bandages, only revealed at the end to have a face considered ugly in a world of pig-faced people. It was chilling, but even with all this, she kept being offered the same types of roles: silent, pretty, replaceable. Then came the audition that would change her life. The Beverly Hillbillies. Producers were looking for someone to play Ellie Mae Clampett, and over 500 actresses showed up to try out. Donna had barely been in acting school for a week, but she had something none of the others did. When they handed her a goat and asked her to milk it, probably expecting her to squeal or freeze, she just looked at them and said, "I've milked cows before. I figured they were equipped the same," and she did it right there on camera. A week after she got the part, everything nearly collapsed. She was rear-ended at a red light in Los Angeles and suffered a serious concussion. She was hospitalized and dizzy for days, but she was terrified the producers would replace her. So she checked herself out of the hospital and showed up on sets till nauseous, still hurting, but refusing to miss her chance. What she didn't know was that Paul Henning, the show's creator, believed in her so much that he paused filming until she recovered. That never happened in Hollywood. The Beverly Hillbillies premiered on September 26, 1962, her 30th birthday. Critics hated it. The CBS boss even admitted he didn't think it would last. But within weeks, it was the #1 show in the country, and it stayed there for 2 full seasons. That simple fish-out-of-water story connected with millions. And Donna, as Ellie Mae, became a sensation. Her tight jeans and flannel shirts sparked a fashion revolution. Levi's saw sales explode. One company executive even said she'd done more for jeans in 1 year than cowboys had done in 100. Every week she received over 2,000 fan letters. Some included marriage proposals, others contained lingerie. Instead of being shocked, she autographed the lingerie, included Bible verses, and mailed it back. She didn't have an assistant do it, she answered everything herself. That was Donna. Over the course of the show's 9-year run, she appeared in almost all 274 episodes. In one unforgettable 1968 episode, she body-slammed a male wrestler in the ring. No stunt double, just Donna in her farm girl strength. She'd grown up tossing hay and chasing pigs. This was nothing. Her face landed on TV guide covers again and again. Photographers loved her look, blonde hair, soft eyes, southern drawl. But CBS started to worry. Was she getting too sexy for family television? There were debates over her outfits and how much skin was showing. Still, she never crossed a line. Even when Playboy offered her $10,000 for a centerfold in 1965, about $100,000 today, she said no without blinking. Not because she was scared, but because she had values. She once said her dream man was a Christian with a tractor. That told you everything you needed to know. Behind the scenes, things weren't always smooth. Co-star Max Baer Jr. admitted they'd fight like family. He'd yell, Irene Ryan would yell back. Donna would cry. But if an outsider criticized them, they closed ranks. They were clampets on screen and off. In 1962, Donna Douglas was just settling into her role as Ellie Mae Clampett when Robert M. Leeds joined the set of the Beverly Hillbillies as a director. He wasn't just another face behind the camera. Leeds quickly became one of the show's most consistent directors, and over time, their professional dynamic quietly shifted into something more personal. For 9 long years, they worked side by side filming one of television's most iconic comedies. Then, in 1971, the same year the show ended, Donna and Robert got married. She was 39 at the time. It wasn't a whirlwind romance, but a slow build of trust and familiarity that had taken shape behind the scenes, far from the public eye. It lasted until 1980, a full 9 years of marriage before they eventually went their separate ways. But this wasn't her first time walking down the aisle. Long before Hollywood Lights found her, she had married Roland John Bourgeois Jr. in 1949. That marriage had ended 5 years later in 1954, quietly and without fanfare. While her off-screen relationships were rarely front-page news, the same couldn't be said about the on-set energy of the Beverly Hillbillies. Max Baer Jr., who played Jethro, later opened up in interviews about what it was really like working on set. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said flat out that there were arguments all the time. He yelled at Irene Ryan. She yelled back. He got upset at Donna, and she'd often end up in tears. But to him, it was normal. They were like family, he said. Behind Donna's sweet southern accent and innocent smile as Ellie Mae, there was more going on than most viewers realized. She was grateful for the role, but she also felt boxed in. Over time, she began to question why Ellie Mae couldn't grow, couldn't change. Why couldn't she have a real romance? Why couldn't her story evolve a bit beyond the barefoot tomboy routine? Donna brought these questions to the producers and even to Paul Henning, the show's creator. She didn't push too hard, but she made suggestions, subtle changes, more layers, more direction. Every time, she was told no. The show's formula worked. Ellie Mae's charm was her innocence. Any change to that might mess with the chemistry that had made the show a hit. But inside, Donna was frustrated. She was more than the one-dimensional version of herself written into the script. People on set noticed she carried herself like a real actress, someone who took the craft seriously. Still, her ideas to modernize the character or explore deeper storylines were dismissed as unnecessary. So week after week, year after year, she stepped into the same role, hit the same beats, delivered the same lines. The world loved Ellie Mae, but Donna Douglas was always quietly hoping someone would ask what she wanted from the part. No one really did. Before she became a household name through the Beverly Hillbillies, Donna Douglas quietly appeared in one of the most iconic episodes of The Twilight Zone. It aired on November 11, 1960. The story centered on a woman named Janet Tyler, whose face was wrapped in bandages after a series of failed medical procedures. Donna played the final unmasked version of Janet, while another actress, Maxine Stewart, voiced the bandaged scenes. The twist at the end showed Donna as a traditionally beautiful woman, while the doctors and nurses around her had pig-like distorted faces. It shocked viewers and became one of the highest-rated episodes in the show's entire run. A few years later, she returned for another episode called Cavender is Coming, which aired in May 1962. In the summer break of the Beverly Hillbillies, something unexpected happened. Elvis Presley personally reached out and asked Donna to co-star with him in a film. That movie was Frankie and Johnny, FILMED, in 1965 and released in 1966. Set on a Mississippi riverboat, Donna played Frankie, a singer, while Elvis took on the role of Johnny, a gambler. The movie was directed by Frederick de Cordova, who later became famous for producing The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. With a production budget of $4.5 million, Elvis earned $700,000 and also got 50% of the profits. The film reached number 40 on Variety's box office chart that year. Although it was a popular hit, it didn't really change Donna's typecasting from her Hillbillies fame. Then came the lawsuit that changed everything. In 1972, a year after the Hillbillies ended, Donna made headlines when she filed a $10 million lawsuit against CBS. She believed she deserved residuals from the reruns of the show, which had become a syndication giant. The legal battle dragged on for years. Eventually, she settled for $500,000. It was a win on paper, but it came with a huge cost. After challenging one of the biggest networks in the industry, she found herself slowly pushed out. Producers stopped calling. Casting offers vanished. Her name was quietly blacklisted in the industry. During the original run of the Beverly Hillbillies from 1962 to 1971, she had received no residuals despite its massive success around the world. Rather than fight to stay in the business, she took a different path. In the 1970s, she began performing gospel music. Deeply religious, Donna wasn't interested in the typical celebrity life. In 1982, she released her debut album, Donna Douglas Sings Gospel, which sold 50,000 copies. Even though there was little promotion and she had no presence on the music charts, she turned down offers to collaborate with big-name country stars, saying she didn't want to mix secular music with her faith. She released another album called Asterisk, Donna Douglas Sings Country and Gospel, Back on the Mountain Asterisk, and performed mostly at churches and Christian events instead of public concerts. During the same period, she tried something new again.